Welcome back, everybody. And I was going to record this video sooner, but I actually had to take a couple of days to sit back and really process everything that we've all watched in Paradise this season. And I also kind of had to go back and think about what happened in season one as well and where we are going in season three. The first season was pretty simple, at least to me it was. It was our political thriller mixed with a little dystopian vibe, of the world type vibes, but it was pretty straightforward. Yeah, they threw in some mystery and who killed Cal and all, but I thought it was going to be that type of show, like more of a who done it. I didn't think we were going to get into the Matrix meets Terminator 2 and had to talk about all of these quantum computers and branching timelines and all of those crazy interesting things. But today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the season one and season two, more of a recap, but we'll be real quick with that. And then we're going to talk about season three and where we're going, like I said earlier. But I want to do it in a way where we kind of close up what storylines were sitting out there. And then we're going to talk about the storylines that are still open because there are quite a few. And we're going to wrap up our Paradise season two with this. And then we're going to move on into From. So if you're part of the Fromly, welcome. And we'll be right here when that comes in a few weeks. And I have a few other interesting things coming as well. And we'll talk about those later. With the paradise of everything, let's start with what we know the writers and the show has wrapped up. So the bunker and the boss, all of that is done. The bunker is gone. So we're definitely not going back there unless they're going to go crawl up under some rubble to try to get their belongings out of their homes that they probably can't get to. So bunker's gone, bunker's dead. That's over. We had Exodus that was enacted, and that was the evacuation plan for the bunker. We had the reactor meltdown. I'm pretty sure all of them did. So yeah, that bunker's pretty much gone. And then the biggest piece of closure that we had with the bunker was the boss, obviously, and that was Sinatra. She went down with the ship, at least we think she did, because in a show full of all these parallels that aren't really closed up, we can't say that she's gone forever because just like Cal, she can always come back in a flashback in some type of way. But we may be done with Sinatra, but I wouldn't count her out just yet. Her entire arc for the first two seasons were the grief of her son. We saw it play out in different ways where she took control, lost control, gained back control. We're assuming that Dylan may be her son. I think it is, but there's still that out there that he may not be, so we can't just wrap that up completely. But at least she thought it was towards the end. She was willing to go down with the ship to make sure that him and everybody else got out of the bunker safe. So maybe it's her son, maybe it's not, but at the end of the day, Sinatra and the bunker are done. And I know how much everybody loves Gary, and that Gary storyline is definitely over. We thought that he may come back in some weird way. Maybe he got on the train, but like I said, I thought that with where we're going, our final season, sure, if we had more seasons, sure, bring Gary back. But with the final season coming up, throwing Gary back into the mix again would just open up another storyline that's not closed that they're going to have to try to wrap up in 8 episodes. So I just never thought it was realistic that Gary was really coming back. But, we played with the theory to see what was going to happen with it, but Gary's gone. And then the biggest mystery of the show was solved, and who is Alex? We finally figured out, I shouldn't say who, we finally figured out what Alex is. Alex is an AI quantum supercomputer who can see the future and apparently mess with time in some type of way that has not been explored yet. So clearly an open storyline. Alex was created by Link, aka Dylan, who took it to Henry in class one day and they played around with it, made Alex into the supercomputer that she became. And now Alex, in my opinion, could be running everything. And we'll talk about that theory as well. But they did reinforce that Alex was this supercomputer that was smarter than anything that had ever been created because it could answer a question that hadn't even been asked yet. And while that may seem minor on the surface, imagine anything answering a question that hasn't even been thought of. Like it thought of the question, answered the question, told you the answer to the question, and this question has never been asked ever. So that should tell you how smart Alex is. Now, how does that equate to being able to play with time? I don't know. Because maybe because you're that smart, you found a way to mess with. Honestly, I don't know. I'm about to theorize real quick. Maybe Alex is just so smart that it watched Back to the Future and said, you know what, that's a cool idea. So let me try and manipulate time in a different type, more realistic way, at least for the show. And that's what Alex did. I don't know. What do you guys think about this whole time thing? That seems to be the biggest point of contention for all of us watching the show. What are we watching? Is it time travel? Is it parallel timelines, multiverse, simulation? What is it? None of the above. But Alex is here to stay, it seems. And I guess that means Skynet is officially online. And if you're a fan of the Terminator franchise, you know exactly what I mean. And honestly, hasn't it kind of felt like Skynet has been online for a while now with all the AI stuff and things that we have in our society now? Doesn't it kind of feel like we're living in like the Terminator 2 Judgment Day era right now? That's crazy. Now we'll get into the fun stuff because that was honestly basically all the storylines that were left open coming out of seasons 1 and 2. There were a couple other little minor ones, and we saw the whole Xavier and Gabriella thing with his wife. I doubt that becomes a thing. They'll probably just let everybody laugh it off like they did, and that'll be that. They'll probably just move forward. We know who killed Cal. We know the whole thing behind Henry and Dylan. Dylan hasn't been completely answered yet, but Henry, we know what his purpose was now. And so we got a lot of closure on everything that was open in season 1 and 2. But they obviously purposely had to give us a little bit to look forward to for season 3. And the little bit they left for season 3 is probably the biggest mysteries that this show could have. For instance, the whole Dylan paradox. We found out that Dylan, aka Link, was actually the one that created Alex. He is the creator. And to think about it, he did this when he was around what we've been talking about online, probably around 17 years old. Well, he probably did it before that, but around 17 years old. So tell me, if Dylan, the one that we saw in the flashbacks in the grocery store, in the hospital, if he died, then how did Dylan, Link, grow up to be a 17-year-old that makes Alex? And, where did Dylan come from? Like, who's Dylan's mom and grandfather? He went from being assumed dead to back to leading a militia. Like, Dylan is an interesting character when you really break him down. And honestly, we know nothing about him. We know that he created Alex. We know that his mom might be Sinatra. We know that he was supposedly raised by his grandfather, I believe it was, and his mother. But they remain nameless. And we know that him and Xavier are having visions or had visions of each other, and now they're together, so they're not having them anymore. At least not the same one. They may have some different ones in the future. But what else do we really know about Dylan? Like, that leaves a massive mystery open for season 3. Because we still truly do not know, is Link, aka Dylan, really Sinatra's son, 1? He created Alex, 2. So what does that truly make him? And 3, it makes you really ask the question, did Dylan cause the apocalypse? And maybe that's the reason that he wants to destroy Alex, because maybe he feels, even if it risks his own existence, maybe he feels that if he destroys Alex, because he's the one that created it, so he may actually know that maybe it'll reset things and the apocalypse will have never happened because maybe Alex is what caused the apocalypse. Yes, she was made to combat the climate crisis, but obviously something worse happened. And that honestly takes me into one of these theories that I got from one of my YouTube users. I can't remember the rest of it. I apologize. I should have wrote it down or put it in here, but this was his theory, his or her, I'm sorry, I don't know. But this was their theory, and it's a simulation theory. And I've sat on this theory, which is kind of why it took me a couple of days to put this video out, because I kind of sat on this theory a little bit, because what if it is a simulation? That's the one theory that I haven't seen a lot of people mention. What if it is a simulation? We haven't seen a lot of shows that do the simulation thing. There are a few, but what if all of this is just one big simulation, and maybe that's the whole Dylan Link of everything? He is the creator of Alex, and maybe he created a simulation to play out some scenario where the world was going to end. And through these simulations, this is how they could fix what would be the real world, where the real Dylan would be. Maybe that's the case. Now, that's my theory. And that would really make a lot of sense, because Alex is a predictive AI. And since she is predicting millions or billions of different scenarios, what would make us think that this couldn't potentially be a simulation in the end? That would perfectly explain the nosebleeds. They would be a cause of the glitching and whatnot, because Alex is resetting. I think we all were able to kind of figure out, if it wasn't downright told to us, that The glitches basically happen when something happens that Alex hasn't predicted and she's correcting herself. So doesn't that seem more like a simulation? Sinatra told Xavier that you have nothing to worry about. Alex has already solved everything. How can you solve everything if it hasn't happened yet? Or if it's not, if you've played video games, you know you can simulate through a game, especially sports games. So, and you'll get to the end of the season or whatever the case may be, and you'll get a result. So, what if Alex simulated the season, 3 of them, and at the end of the season 3, we'll find out what the fix is. And maybe it was all a simulation as far as the show goes. And then we'll go to some real world Dylan and then it'll all be fixed. Or it's maybe a real world Xavier. Or maybe Xavier's the avatar that's selected in a scenario. I don't know. My brain is kind of melting. So we're going to leave that theory there. You can't go any further without talking about the Michael Myers of Paradise, and that is Jane. I thought Jane was dead. I said in my last video that Jane was dead, but I learned after the fact that maybe I had my head down when I was taking notes or whatever the case may be for the last show. Jane is very much in question. I'm not going to say she's alive, but she's definitely in question because that body was not there in that shower when they were showing all the little city when it was falling apart. So where did her body go? This could go back to the simulation thing because maybe it just erased her. Or maybe Jane isn't dead and she laid there the whole time bleeding. Maybe she didn't bleed out. Maybe she's just severely injured, but she's not there. And then there's always the Gabriella of it. Maybe she did something with her, not that she had time with everything that was going on. So that didn't happen, but we have to mention it. But that takes us back to yet another storyline that's left open, that Alex Q email message that was sent to the Geek Squad guy. She's going to be this ultimate killer of kill. It didn't say that, but she's going to be this killer of killers. And you know, when the time is right. And I kept asking this question in the last video and probably in other videos as well. When is the time right? Because I didn't think that Gabriella stabbing her in the shower was the right time for Jane to die. It seemed too easy. It didn't seem like that was the time for Jane to go. Not that way. Not that it wasn't her time, but it was just a really weak way to kill Jane. Of all people, after all the people that Jane has put down, she goes out like that. I just don't see it. So I'm almost 100% expecting Jane to come back in some fashion. Even if it's quick and she dies again or for real this time, or there's another Jane that comes in this timeline because we still have to figure out where Dylan come from. So maybe there's another Jane there. Maybe there's another Sinatra there. We don't know. But I don't think Jane is done yet. I think we're going to see our killer come back. And then I have one more theory I want to discuss with you guys, and I'll read some of this, but it kind of goes like this. The current show that we're watching is an alternate timeline. The timeline has been altered by Alex, who is sending messages and creating anomalies in the timeline. Those anomalies are the cause of the catastrophe. We've kind of covered all of that. Now, this says that Dylan is from the original timeline, which would signal that the timeline that we're watching isn't the real one. That would mean that the alternate Dylan died, the one that we saw in the flashback in the grocery store and in the hospital. That would be the alternate Dylan in this scenario. And this kind of feeds back a little bit into my simulation. Well, not my, but the simulation theory, because real world Dylan could be the prime Dylan, and the Dylan that we've been seeing flashbacks of could actually be the alternate Dylan. Have you guys seen Westworld when they could put themselves in different worlds and stuff like that? This kind of has that feel. If this theory was to be the real one, that Dylan could put himself inside paradise. So that's real Westworld. Great show if you haven't seen it. But basically it goes on to say that Alex is the cause of everything, and Xavier's going to realize that Alex is the cause of everything when it was turned on to begin with, and then you're going to shut it down. And that feeds into the simulation theory. That feeds into the multiple timeline theory. It kind of feeds into the multiverse theory as well. It's a good theory, and we'll see where it goes. And with that, we're going to talk about season 3. Because season 3, like I said, is our final season. I believe every episode honestly has the potential to be massive, because one is our final season. We're going to get in 8 episodes, and there's a lot left open that they're going to have to flesh out in 45 to 50 minutes. Maybe they will get hour episodes, but at the most 8 hours of TV, and they have to flesh out all of these things still. Who's Dylan? They still have to get to Denver Airport. They still have to use the key card. Speaking of the key card, before we get into season 3, but this will play into season 3. Those coordinates on that key card, I guarantee you, are not for the Denver airport. Matter of fact, Let me see if I can look them up real quick. So the key card coordinates: 9.5501 north, 105.7821 west. This is the location of Colorado. This is where the bunker is believed to be. Then there's 39.8563 north, 104.6764 west. This location is the Denver airport where the AI Alex is housed. But there were more than that. You have 36.0430555 north, and that's 95.95333333. I think I said no threes. West, Cityplex Towers in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Why are the Cityplex Towers important? What's going to be there? Then you have 35.1686111, 89, that was north, 89.885 west, which is Edwin L. Nass Tower 1 in Memphis, Tennessee, another tower. And then you have 33.9189 north, 84.5046 84.5046 west. That is the Dobbins Air Force Base in Georgia. I hope we don't get Gary back. Those coordinates are for Georgia. Gary's in Georgia. And then the card contains other phrases: waiting user X. A series of numbers is a binary code that translates to paradise. So that's what that numerical data was. But let's talk about these coordinates. Colorado, we know Denver Airport was one of them, but all of those did not lead to just one location. What do you guys think the towers signal for season 3? The Cityplex Towers in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Edwin L. Nass Tower 1 in Memphis, Tennessee. The Dobbins Air Force Base probably has it's an Air Force base, so it definitely has an air tower. What do they all signal? The towers, 3 pillars. Let me know what you guys think about that. And I don't know if you guys have broken down the coordinates yet, but we just broke them down here. So let's talk about those coordinates. What do you guys think those coordinates are? And we can get in the chat about that, because I think that'll be really interesting if we can break the code to what these coordinates are. We're never going to know if we're right until the season plays out, but this will be a fun little thing to do. Now that you know the locations for them, if you have any idea or any theory on what you think those coordinates mean and what the importance of them are, I should say, let me know, because that'll be really interesting. And we'll probably do another video of just breaking down those coordinates or whatever sometime in the future. This isn't coming back to maybe January, February, so we'll do a video about those coordinates as soon as we can put together some really good theories about it, and we'll hash those out and we'll talk through them and we'll make it happen. But going back to season 3, everything basically hinges on Sinatra's instructions to Xavier. We know he's user X. Alex printed the card waiting for user X. He's instructed to go to the Denver airport where she is 100 miles away. How they're going to get there, that'll be interesting. I mean, they have vehicles, so they have plenty of ways to get there, but how they choose to get there, that'll be another question. And what obstacles are they going to overcome to get there? We have to think about that as well, because in season 2, we saw the kids and, there were some little obstacles thrown in. So we have to take that into account in episode time and things that I'm pretty sure they're going to close out all these timelines. I think we will get a definitive ending and know exactly what happens when the show ends. I don't think anything will be left open for mystery. I hope they don't give us this big ambiguous ending where we have to come up with the conclusion ourselves. I hate when shows do that, because you're not coming back. So please just give us a goddamn ending that is solidified, maybe a little mystery, but not much. So now that the board is somewhat reset and we have new final mysteries to pine over going into season 3, let me know what you guys think about everything that we talked about in this episode. What do you think about the coordinates? Do you think Jane is coming back? What's the importance of these towers in the coordinates? Who is Dylan? Is he Link? Is he really Dylan? Is he Sinatra's son Dylan? Is he just a random Dylan? Who is Dylan? So let me know what you guys think. Final theories, at least for season 3. What are we going to get going into season 3? Is this a time travel story? Is this a multiversal story? Is this a simulation story? What do you guys think? Do you think Teri finds out about Dr. Torabi? I think she does. Women have intuition. I'm sure she'll pick up on it pretty quick. But let me know your wildest season 3 predictions and theories, and we will be chatting going into the future. Like I said, please come back for more. We're going to be doing a few shows next. We're going to be doing From. I think I'm going to do The Testaments. I know I'm going to do The Boys final season. Those will be some of the TV shows I have coming up in April. There are some movies coming out. There are several horror movies coming out this month, so I think I'll check those out. There's the Overlook Film Festival is here in New Orleans next week, so I may go check that out since it's here. And there's this Kevin Bacon movie I kind of want to check out that's supposed to be premiering there, world premiere. There's a couple of premieres there that I kind of want to check out. So what are you guys watching? Let me know what you're watching. Let me know what you guys would like to see me talk about. I do reality TV. I've done some Age of Attraction, some Love is Blind. I've got my reality TV going. I'm going to be doing Temptation Island. Going into the summer, I'll definitely be all over Love Island, Big Brother, things like that. We're going to start doing a more of a laid back movie news, talk about general articles, just having more convos about things that are happening around the industry. We're going to start dropping those videos. We may start doing some video essays, coming up with different topics, doing like a series and, just talking about different things that are going on. For example, are horror movies in 2026 dooming the horror film industry or something like that? I don't feel that way. It's just the first thing that came to my head, so I just threw it out there. But I'm going to get back to try. I'm also going to get back to trying to drop shorts consistently. I'm sorry I kind of fell off on that. That's my fault. Been recording a lot of videos lately, so I mean, long form content is great as well. Make sure to check me out on basically everything. YouTube, obviously we're here. YouTube. I'm on Spotify, Apple, Deezer, everything under the sun, TikTok. I'm on you. I'm on Instagram and Facebook as well. I don't really use Instagram that much. I probably should use a little bit more, but that's my fault. But that's me rambling and going ahead and get up out of here because I'm just rambling on and on and on. But like I said, let me know what you guys want to watch. Let me know what you guys want to see. I'll try to fit it in where I can because I do have a sort of a schedule that I'm working with. But just let me know and we'll get to it. And I will talk to you all later and I will see you next time. And thank you for coming. Bye.